What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me here to break down yet another NASCAR race is Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Yeah, I was just telling you pre-show. I hit my best bet last week. Denny Hamlin top 5. That was fantastic. And the most important thing of the day is I finally got my Bubba Wallace diecast car from
Let's
Fanatics.
go.
It only took about 4 to 5 months to receive this, but I finally got it.
Yes. Yeah, shouts to you. Also going to give Josh Mills a shout out. He had a Hamlin top 5 as well. He was riding the Lightning with you. He also had Kyle Busch top 5 and a Ross Chastain top 10. Those are all nice hits. If you are watching this video and you have thoughts on who you like from a betting perspective, feel free to drop them in the comments. Feel free to drop any DFS takes, and appreciate everybody hopping on and subscribing. We're on our way to 250 subscribers. If you have yet to do that, please click that subscribe button. It helps you get the content as soon as it comes out. It helps you when we do our live streams, you'll get turn on the bell notifications, when we go live. And really appreciate everybody hopping on and enjoying the ride with us this season. Brian and I are excited to talk yet another NASCAR race. Obviously, Brian, we have qualifying this week, and that screws up our schedule.
Yes.
But we are going to kind of look at the race from an overall perspective. We'll talk some betting. As well as we'll figure out. We're working under the premise that we'll just tweet out for DraftKings our core our picks. But if something does happen, we are able to finagle a live stream, we'll definitely do that. And that's even more reason to mash that subscribe, turn on the bell notification. And if you're watching this video and enjoying the content or getting something out of it, please hit that thumbs up. It really does do a lot for us. Without further ado, Brian, let's jump into it and let's look at that betting board. As I was doing prep to get the graphics ready, a lot of similar position, a lot of similar numbers. Chase Elliott is your heavy favorite. I told you not to fade Kyle Larson. He was rock solid yet again, back on track. Hendrick looked good. Party Marty's there. Christopher Bell had a nice finish inside the top 10. Very similar, although you do see the Austin Cindric name and the AJ Allmendinger name, which is, obviously those guys both tend to pop at these road courses. I guess from an overall perspective, where's your head at for yet another road course race?
Well, we were chatting back and forth after watching this last Sunday's race, and how do you not bet Kyle Larson right now? I mean, I continue to fade him personally after such a strong streak, right before that long break, and he just continues to prove me wrong. I mean, this guy is ridiculous. I mean, last week he was the best car overall throughout the day. I know Chase Elliott was right there at the end, and had there been another about 10, 5 to 10 laps, I think Elliott would have caught him and won the race. But how do you bet against Kyle Larson right now? I mean, this dude is just ridiculous.
Yeah, he's running extremely well. Another guy that does amazing at road courses. I know we don't have a ton of historical data to go off of, but we can use some of the recent results at road courses. We've obviously just coming off of one. I'm interested to see how that affects this week. See if drivers are a little more comfortable on the road courses after running one a week ago, and see what teams do. I mean, if we're looking, I think we talked about this last week, but I really feel like we need to, in terms of outrights, focus on kind of those top 4 or 5 names, and then really just, not delve too much farther than that.
Yeah, I think again we're going to run into a situation where there may be one of those guys outside the 10-1 or the low teens that sneak up in there for contention, but in all likelihood it's probably going to be those top 4 names inside 10-1 that are competing for a win here. Between the two of them, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, this is almost a time for me just with the top of the board continuously performing as they do, I'm almost leaning towards just betting both of them to win and then calling it a day this Sunday, especially on a track that NASCAR has never run before.
Yeah.
So that, I'll probably look into some of the top 20 markets, top 10s, but yeah, I really think that it's going to come from those top 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Maybe this is the one that Chase Elliott grabs instead of Kyle Larson, but yeah, it was really those two guys, and it doesn't matter kind of what everyone else is doing. Um, that Hamlin number is tempting yet again. We've been talking about this. We want to, he seems like a guy that should be in the playoff. Yet to get a win, I don't necessarily know that this is the track, but that number is really nice, and he's a driver that has been right there in terms of performances at road courses. Any chance you get to him at 12-1?
I mean, I liked him last week, top 5, and if he's just snuck in there on the last lap, probably on the last turn, coming into the race, and then if it wasn't for a bad pit stop there with just over 20 something laps to go, I think Denny Hamlin is inside the top 3 after last week. So I don't know if I can get to him at 12-1. I like him more in the top 3, top 5 market again as plus money, which is something I'll probably be on again. I just think that that's just too good to pass up for him. And, if he gets that pit crew kind of gets their shit together, for a lack of a better words, I think he has the ability to win, but I really think that this race is going to be a Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson battle again.
100%. And he's kind of fallen into that like Kevin Harvick bucket. Like we talked about Harvick as a guy that, is always like seemingly in contention, but is he actually in contention?
Right.
He's kind of like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th.
Yeah.
Basically 3 top 5s in his last 5, 6 top 10s in his last 7. Feels like that top 5 market is definitely the place that I would be looking to exploit the Denny Hamlin price, because he is a decent price on the outrights, which is helping those placing positions look even better. Kyle Larson to top 3 at -105 feels like an automatic bet too. I know it's not quite plus money, but that feels like a tremendous value for him to finish in the top 3.
Yeah, that's probably another number that I'll be looking at. And then, when you look at the top 10 market again, anybody who's plus money, I think is enticing for me. I mean, Brad Keselowski, if he wasn't driving like us on the track last weekend, constantly locking up his brakes and spinning out numerous times, I think he's easy top 10 finish there, probably even top 5. So I like him at 2-1 odds, top 10 this week. And then, even Joey Logano, who was right up there until teammate Brad Keselowski got into him later in the race. So I think both of those guys, both the Penske drivers, are going to be a nice combo here to maybe even parlay them to go top 10 this week.
Yeah. Are you interested in Cindric or Allmendinger, the quote unquote, I don't know, we don't want to call him like ringers, but
Cindric, I think Allmendinger is the ringer.
Okay. Yeah. -110 to top 10. That feels like a nice value.
Yeah, I do like that, and then I do think that Allmendinger, again, he's, I mean, not to deviate from the betting board, but when you look at even DK, Allmendinger is 8,800.
Yeah,
and I think that especially prior to qualifying, if he has a good package this weekend, I think Allmendinger is going to qualify probably top 10. So at 8,800, you have the possibility of getting a guy who could be in the top 10 consistently throughout the race. So I think that's a good number. And then for him, the top 10 finish in the betting market, I think is a good number too.
Yeah, let's shift over and talk DraftKings. Obviously, we're not going to be like, popping up our core because we don't know where these guys are starting, but Elliott and Larson are both your favorites at 11,000 and 10.8. Truex is right there. Kyle Busch is right there. All makes a ton of sense. But the Cindric number at 9,400 and the Allmendinger number at 8,800, depending on how these qualify. If Cindric struggles in qualifying, he could be somebody that I could see myself getting to at 9,400. And as you mentioned, if Allmendinger qualifies strong and is a guy that's potentially has a chance to lead laps even early and then finish somewhere in that 5 to 10 range, at 8,800 is also a driver that if you need to save a little bit of money, you could definitely make a decent case for him.
Yeah, and I guess finally, ding, 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 let's ring the bell for for Christopher Bell. I mean, if it wasn't for Kyle Larson diving down deep and kind of getting into him, I think that Bell is probably coming off a top 5 T3 finish. And then we're looking at him as somebody who's more sought after this weekend. And at what is he right now? He's only 9,200 on DK. And I mean, he hasn't been one to qualify really high up in races. So I think that he's going to qualify, maybe near the back half of the top 10 or low teens, but he's shown the speed to be able to get near the top quick in these races. And that's, you could potentially get those movement points for, $9,200. That's great.
Yeah. Shout out to Christopher Bell, who I spent like 5 minutes talking about how he's either going to win or he's going to do really bad, and finishes kind of somewhere in the middle. So appreciate that. Looking at some of the loop data from last week's race at Watkins Glen, William Byron actually had a really nice race right behind. He was basically like 6th behind, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Truex, and Larson. But started 15th, ended up finishing 6th. Had a bunch of passes, ran really well, 85% in the top 15. His number over on DraftKings has gone up a little bit. Is he somebody that you're the William Byron fan of the podcast? Where's your head at heading into this week?
I still like him. I like him in the betting market this week. He's pretty much even money to top 10, but when you're looking at DraftKings, he's probably going to qualify inside the top 10 or right there. And then he just hasn't shown the ability to win these races. Yeah. So he's not really somebody I've been playing on DraftKings recently because he moved up 8 spots last week, but if he's qualifying inside the top 10, you're looking for a top 3 or potential victory. And he hasn't been able to keep up speed wise with the Elliots, the Larsons, and the Busch and the Truexes of late. So it's hard for me to get on him, especially as the 6th most expensive guy at $9,800. I'd rather go a little bit cheaper and get a guy who's starting further back, who has the capability of moving up similar amount of spots, but also can win just like Byron.
Yeah, he hasn't had a strong DK performance in a top 10 starting position since like mid-June.
Yeah.
His 2 really strong performances in terms of DK points came at the Pocono race and came last week. So bunch of underwhelming performances in between there. So yeah, obviously qualifying will be critical for him. If we can get him in that teens, I think he'll definitely be somebody I'd be willing to go to. Or even, out a little bit longer than that. If he's out, if he's inside that top 10, I'm probably with you that I'm going to look elsewhere. Matt D had a pretty good race. Ross Chastain had a really good race. Chase Briscoe, your guy, Chase Briscoe. These are some names that if you're looking at, kind of down a little bit further could make, for some interesting options, Briscoe inside 8K, Chastain inside 8K.
Let me just say once again, too, Corey LaJoie with yet another top 20-something finish. He got another 20-plus DK points for $5,600. Yes, please. I mean, if you can guarantee me that I'm going to get that kind of output for somebody that's priced so low, I'll take that every single week and then fill my roster in with the guys that can give me the boom performances.
Yeah, I think it makes sense too, especially if you want to get to Elliott or Larson or
potentially or both.
He makes it a lot easier on everybody.
Yeah, and of course, before we get off of DK or anything, how do we not mention the fact that we definitely called this with Eric Jones, who was running well, and then of course ran into some ridiculous issue and wound up basically crashing out of the race, finishing a lap down. I think he was he wouldn't have got the free pass, so he was like the second guy that was a lap down. But how does this happen every single week?
It's the Eric Jones fallacy. As soon as we both fall into it and think, okay, this is gonna work, this is gonna be the week. It's the week. And we end up with egg on our face. So yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I'm not gonna fall for it again.
Then this week he's gonna have his best.
Cut to me on Saturday going, "Ooh, Eric Jones is a nice value this week. He can make lineups work."
Yeah.
Or this will be the week that we both fade him, and then everybody else just play Eric Jones, and Brian and I will stay away, and
exactly.
we'll end up working out. But yeah, Corey LaJoie had a nice race, and actually had a decent run. Um, anything else from the DK side you're starting to look at as we obviously we have to wait for qualifying to know for sure, but is there anybody else that you're looking at just kind of in terms of what their salary is over on DK that you may be like, you know what, I could see depending on how they qualify, finding myself gravitating towards this driver.
I mean, I guess this is another guy we're always on, but that's Daniel Suarez. I think
Yeah,
that if he say he doesn't qualify as well, I'd be more inclined to go for him because I like him as he starts further back into the on the starting grid. I don't really like it when he starts in the middle of the pack because his equipment isn't necessarily top of the field level, so it's harder for him to maintain that kind of stuff. But he's not as bad as the back half of the field. So
sure.
if he's starting, mid 20s, lower 20s, I think you have really good value for him to move up inside the top 20. So he's somebody I'm kind of monitoring for qualifying coming up. And then, of course, Alex Bowman, who is the first time I think in the last 3 years that he didn't finish 14th or better at a road course last weekend with his 20th place finish. He had some car issues like numerous others at Watkins Glen. So I think he's somebody to kind of watch who could rebound this weekend as well.
So I'll give you a little bit of Suarez news. This is from iFantasy Race on Twitter. Daniel Suarez at his debuting road courses, both at Road America, he finished 36th, and at Circuit of America, he finished 33rd. So he's not somebody that when he sees the track for the first time and typically does very well, especially in terms of road courses. So
Well, if they're getting practice and qualifying, though,
that
I
is
think
true.
there's
We'll see how
potential
that
for a
affects.
lot better. Yeah.
Cole Custer is always somebody that I find myself gravitating towards because he's always so cheap. If he is outside that top 20 or so,
Mhm.
last 3 road courses, 20th at Sonoma, 17th at Watkins Glen, or 18th at Watkins Glen and 17th at Road America, could be somebody I gravitate towards and kind of make lineups work. I just hope he gets inside that top 20, and at 6,400, I can't fault that. So if I want to him and LaJoy, and then allows me to open up everything else, I'm feeling much better about my lineups. So Brian, we talked our betting thoughts. We talked some DK. That only is one thing and one thing only. But before we give you our best bets, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you hit that thumbs up notification if you're enjoying the content. Make sure you turn on that bell notification. So if we go live on Saturday, probably won't be Sunday because it starts at 10 a.m. out here on the West Coast, and Brian and I are up in the morning, but like that seems aggressive. So we'll see about that. But make sure you have that bell notification on. So if we do go live, if it's not this week, we do want to work those back in and all that good stuff. We also have fantasy football content. We also have other sports betting content. Make sure you're checking those videos out. Pass those around to your friends. Share them on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you do. Speaking of Instagram, at FP at AOP Podcast on Instagram. We're starting to post more there. Make sure you check that out. We'll try and give you some good content on there as well. And all that good stuff. We're getting ready for football season. We're still going to keep the NASCAR stuff cranking out. And Brian and I have a million other things going on, but we're getting this stuff out for y'all. So appreciate everybody joining us. Appreciate everybody watching the show. It really does mean a lot because Brian and I put a lot of effort and time into these things, and the fact that you guys are getting some value out of it really means the world to us. So for Brian Twining, I'm Kyle Robert. It's best bet time. What do you got, Brian?
Well, I'm going to go back to the well 2 weeks in a row, but this time I'm upping the ante and I'm going Denny Hamlin top 3 at plus 320. I think this 11 car, again, I am going to ride this until it happens. He needs a win in order to get into these playoffs.
So when he top 3s this week, are you going to bet him to win next week?
We'll see what the number is.
I don't hate it. I'm gonna laugh when he gets 4th. Just we could have gone.
Hey, he should have finished 6th this last weekend. So.
Right. Usually I get the guy who's in 5th the whole time. He's my best bet, and then at the last second gets passed and ends up finishing like 7th and kills me. Man, there's a couple bets I really like. The Allmendinger top 10 bet is really compelling, but I'm not going to get cute with it. Kyle Larson top 3 minus 105. I just, it makes too much sense. I'm gonna bet that he'll probably get like 5th or something just just to let me know that, hey,
Yeah.
don't take the easy way out all the time. But it is one I like. I also like Christopher Bell's number, 18-1 on the outright market. I think he has a legit chance to
Ooh.
win, but that's not going to be my best bet because I'm not a crazy person. So, um, like I said, Brian and I will either look for us on Twitter at Notorious Caro, at Greasy Rules. I'll try and share it from at FPAOP on Twitter. If for some reason our schedules clear up and we can do a live stream, we'll let you know. We'll let you know about that too. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you have the bell notifications. It really does do a lot. We're marching towards 250 and would really appreciate you hopping on board. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. We'll talk to you guys next time.